Have you ever thought about spending marketing dollars, spending money in order to generate seller appointments for your real estate and investing business? Today, we're going to talk about how you can use your hard-earned money and capital to get face-to-face with a seller to either increase your listings, increase your investing deals, or ideally, a combination of both. And welcome back to Agent Investor. I'm your host, Tom Caffarella. Have you ever thought about spending marketing dollars, spending money in order to generate seller appointments for your real estate and investing business? If so, this episode is for you. Today, we're going to talk about how you can use your hard-earned money and capital to get face-to-face with a seller to either increase your listings, increase your investing deals, or ideally, a combination of both. I'm Tom Caffarella. I'm your host. I'm the host of Agent Investor, the only real estate brand that helps real estate agents get off the real estate roller coaster. We help agents do this by helping agents to focus more and combine being an agent and being an investor, by allowing agents and teaching agents how to focus more on generating seller opportunities and following what we call the agent investor model. The agent investor model has 3 steps. Step number 1, continue selling real estate, but focus your real estate business more on sellers. Step number 2, offer every seller that you meet a cash offer. 20% of all sellers will take that cash offer. If they take the cash offer, fix and flip that property yourself, or partner with us and earn 50% of the flip profits. Our company puts up all of the money, we do all of the construction, and then we split the profits with agents 50-50. If you want to learn more about our partnership program, make sure that you jump on my next call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. The average fix and flip profit that we split with agents is $80,000, which means that the average check that we cut to agents is $40,000. Step number 3 of that agent investor model is to invest those big chunks of income into long-term assets that pay you forever to help you get off the real estate roller coaster. My objective for all of you that are listening is to help you earn $5, $10, $15, $20, $30,000 a month of passive income so that you are no longer on the real estate roller coaster, so that you don't have to worry about the market, the ups and downs of the market, the ups and downs of your client base, so that you can sell real estate and feel really good about it and not have to worry. All right, so again, like I said in the intro, today we're going to talk about how to generate seller appointments and investor deals by spending money. Before I go into that, I just want to say something really quick about this. For most real estate agents that are listening to this right now, if you have not maximized generating seller opportunities and generating investment deals for free, I don't necessarily recommend that you spend a whole bunch of money on paid marketing. I have already created in past episodes that you can find on the Agent Investor podcast at www.agentinvestorpodcast.com. I've already created other videos on how you can generate these leads and opportunities for free that don't take up a ton of your time. Okay, so if you have not listened to those episodes, if you are not generating seller appointments and investor flip opportunities for free, then you probably don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on marketing, because a lot of the strategies that I talk about, that I teach about, won't take you much time. So again, I would start there. However, today I'm going to give an overview of what it looks like to spend money on seller appointments, on seller marketing, what the pros are, what the cons are, what the different areas you can spend marketing on, and then what some of the anticipated results are. I could definitely do, an entire day presentation on this. So I am going to cover this at a high level. For those of you who listen to what I have to say today, but you still want more information, you still have more questions, jump on my next call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. All right. So let's start out at the top with seller appointment lead generation for both listings and for cash deals. The first thing I want to talk about a little bit is the call to action. The call to action is essentially the hook for why somebody would ever contact you and what the best hook is for generating not only listing opportunities, but also fix and flip opportunities. Now, everything that I say comes from the lens of our company, who has spent easily over $10 million on paid seller marketing. All right. Again, I'm going to say that number again, over $10 million over the course of the last 15 years on paid seller marketing. So what I'm telling you today is not coming from guesswork. It is coming from us doing it, us trying different things, us looking at the results that we're getting. And I'm passing on a whole bunch of information to you for free. So what I can tell you is the best call to action or the best hook for getting somebody to meet with you and get you into their living room is the let me make you a cash offer call to action. Okay. And I'm saying this because a lot of agents use home valuation call to actions, like, let me tell you the value of your home. Or they'll send a postcard with like listings that they've had. Hey, come call me if you want me to list your house, stuff like that. The reason that the cash offer call to action, like a letter, a postcard, or something on Google or Facebook that says, hey, click here to get an offer on your home, the reason that that gets the most results is because it eliminates pretty much all of your agent competition, right? When you are sending a postcard and it has, let me give you the value of your home, or here are my listings, this is the area I cover. If they know another agent, they're probably not going to call you. So think about that. Like, let's say that you're sitting in your living room and you get a mailer from another real estate agent. Odds are that you know an agent. Like, you don't need to call that specific agent, and you're not going to call them because they sent you a postcard. Now, flip that around, and let's say that you get a postcard that says, hey, call me and I'm going to give you an offer in your home, especially if that offer is with no commission, like, most cash offer businesses do. Even if they know another agent, that other agent isn't going to buy their house. That other agent isn't going to do no commission. So trust me when I tell you that the cash offer call to action on all of this stuff to generate seller opportunities, even if you're focused more on listings, is going to get you in the door more, right? And as any salesperson out there, all that you really want is an opportunity to talk to somebody about the services and the products that you offer, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve. I guess I should say that for any sort of marketing that you do, especially seller marketing, the number one thing that you're trying to get is a face-to-face appointment in that seller's living room. That's the ideal thing, right? Regardless of how motivated they are or interested they are or when they might sell, if you could get into 2, 3, 4 living rooms a week to talk to somebody about selling their house, your business would absolutely explode. And I can almost guarantee that if you're listening to this right now, most of you are not getting into sellers' living rooms 2 or 3 or 4 times a week, right? A lot of you aren't even getting into seller living rooms 2 times a month. So that's what we're trying to achieve, regardless of whether we're spending money or time to generate these opportunities. And again, the only way that we can generate opportunities to meet with a seller in their living room is by spending time to generate the opportunity or spending money. But again, today we're focused on spending money. So we've talked a little bit about the call to action, okay? The second thing I want to talk about is essentially why most real estate agents don't spend money on marketing. And it's a really good reason why most agents don't spend money on seller marketing. And the reason is simple. It's expensive. It's actually, unfortunately, very expensive to generate a seller appointment, especially in this market. Now, the numbers I'm going to quote you are based on what we're seeing in the market as of April 2025. There is very little inventory across almost the entire United States. Where I'm located in New England, it is extremely low. If the market conditions change and there's more sellers that want to sell their house, I would anticipate the cost per appointment to go down. But as of right now, as of April 2025, it costs us somewhere around $1,000 to get a face-to-face seller appointment. Now, when I say that, that's a face-to-face seller appointment with somebody who saw our marketing, whether it's online, whether as a mailer or whatnot. They said, "Yeah, I want to hear about a cash offer. I want to learn more, and I'm willing to have you come to my house." That does not guarantee that we're going to get a listing. That does not guarantee that we're going to buy the home. It doesn't guarantee anything. In fact, more often than not, most appointments we leave empty-handed. Most appointments, we go out there, we talk to the seller about their situation, and at the end of the day, they either don't work with us or they don't sell their house, period. They might have just been curious about what a cash offer was. Especially in this market right now, it's not uncommon, as you would imagine, to have us come out, talk to them about selling their house, and then they go out and they say, "Geez, I didn't realize how high interest rates were. I can't even move. I've got a 3% rate right now. I can't give that up, or I can't rent. I can't afford to even rent compared to what I owe on my mortgage, what I pay on my mortgage." So again, in this environment, in a lot of cases, there are so many sellers that want to sell their property. They want to move, but financially, it's actually a poor decision for them to move. So that creates obviously a lot of pent up demand that will explode as soon as interest rates go down. But while interest rates are in the sixes to sevens and even the high fives, we'll probably see, a lower inventory environment. Okay, so we talked about the call to action. We talked about, how much it costs around, for an appointment. So let's talk about exactly like the high level marketing strategies that there are. There aren't a million and one ways to generate seller appointments that really work. I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to pay to have a seller see your ad somewhere, it's only going to be on a select few mediums, right? It's either going to be that you mail them a mailer, or that you advertised on Google or Facebook or another social media platform, or it's going to be on a billboard or TV or radio, or you do it in some indirect way, like a home valuation ad. Now, I'm not going to talk about home valuation ads today. Those are a little bit different of a strategy. I did an entire episode on home valuation ads. I think it was the last episode that I did. So if you want to learn more about home valuation, lead generation, the cost, what it looks like, etc., it is a little bit different than what I'm going to be talking about today because it is a different call to action. Make sure that you go to www.agentinvestorpodcast.com and take a look at that specific episode. All right, so let's talk about the more tried and true ways to generate opportunities. So I told you that in general, it's costing us around $1,000 to get a face-to-face seller appointment, okay? When we're talking about paid advertising. That is almost across the board, whether we do a TV ad, whether we do a billboard, whether we do pay-per-click, whether we do social media, whether we do mailers. It's almost across the board. Yes, there's a little bit of fluctuation between them, but in general, it's going to be similar. So let me just kind of like knock out the ones that probably don't make a whole lot of sense for anybody that's listening. Although there could be a couple of you out there, so I am going to cover them. So the really high cost ones, the billboards, the TV, the radio. And again, even from the top, I mentioned that even paying $1,000 to generate a seller appointment probably doesn't work for most people that are on this call already. But Even more so that it doesn't make sense typically for billboards, TV, and radio. Why? Because you've got to have a pretty darn big marketing budget for all three of those, regardless. Meaning that if you do TV, if you do radio, if you do billboards, you're probably at a minimum looking at spending $5,000 to $10,000 a month on those, even to just kind of like get in the game. Meaning that if you want to run a TV ad, and we've done it, I've got some of my TV ads up on YouTube, which you guys could take a look at. It's going to be tough for you to even run those for less than $5,000 or $10,000 a month. In fact, with TV, it's more like 10,000 is kind of like the minimum. So I'm going off of what I typically know about agents and what their marketing budgets tend to look like. For most of you, that's not going to make sense. Having said that, of course, billboards, TV, and radio, while expensive, are going to get you that roughly $1,000 per appointment. They're going to get you brand recognition, name recognition, and they do a whole heck of a lot for your business. But if you can't spend that $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month, then those I would kind of just take off the top. Now, even if you could afford the $5 or $10 to $15,000 a month, I typically don't recommend when you're going, especially when you're starting out, spending money on marketing for seller leads and seller appointments. I would definitely kind of like ratchet my way up, which is why I would go into those at the very end rather than starting with those. All right, so let's talk about the more kind of like tried and true ones. Facebook, mailers, PPC. When I say Facebook, I am including, some of the other social media platforms. And when I say Google, I am kind of including Bing as well. But if you think about it, like Bing and the other social media platforms, not that Bing is a social media platform, but Bing compared to Google's the big one. And on social media, obviously, Facebook is the big one. And you've got some other ones that are a little bit, less well known, and you're probably not going to be able to quite spend as much money. All right, so let's talk about these really quickly. So let's talk about mailers first, pros, cons, costs, etc. All right, so some of the pros of mailers are that you can mail exactly who you'd want to list or buy their house. That's probably one of the biggest advantages. So you can take a list, you can pick a specific town that you either want to list or flip homes in, and you can mail them. And you can mail them with kind of a simple, like, we buy houses, I'd love to make you an offer on your home. You can kind of Google search, cash offer mailers. And I will tell you from experience that that the big thing with mailing isn't necessarily like what you're sending, as long as it's reasonable. It's more how consistent are you with mailing. So while you could mail somebody one time and you could potentially get a call, more often than not, you're going to have to kind of have them on a drip campaign. How many times you hit them like in a year, that's up to you. But I would say in general, if you can't mail them like 4 times a year, at least, once a quarter, you probably don't want to mail them. Okay. So, when it comes to mailing, you've got to think about like who you're going to mail, how often you're going to mail, what your mail is going to look like. And then you have to consistently do it over time. Of course, if you think about it from the perspective of yourself, when you get a mailer and you're for anything, any product or service, and you're not really ready to do it, you're likely not going to get a call. So when you mail somebody, even if you mail them once a month, if that person's not selling in the next year or 2 or 3, they're not going to call you, right? I mean, that's kind of obvious logic, but that's one of the downsides of mailing. When you do mail somebody, you don't really know. I mean, you can try to buy lists and people go crazy trying to figure out like, okay, if I use this type of like indicator or marker, or if they're behind on their mortgage, or if they have a lot of equity, or if they have something. then they're going to be more ready. But I can tell you again from experience, it can be really tough to figure out who might be selling, when they might be selling. Again, if you think about it logically from your perspective and how you might have bought a house or moved and when you moved and all that, some of it's unpredictable. I mean, for me, I bought my first house. I had a condo, but then I bought my first house in 2013, 12 years ago. Our company actually renovated it. We made it really nice. We did it exactly how, my wife wanted. And we literally both agreed, hey, we're never going to move. We're in the town we want. We have the property that we want. And then in 2017, a property popped up that she really wanted. Long story short, we ended up buying it. So even if I had gotten a mailer in 2016 and I looked at it and I thought, oh, what would I think? I would think I'm not selling. And then all of a sudden I did sell. So with mailers, you have to kind of be consistent over time. You have to be a little patient. And even though, like I mentioned in the outset, it's going to cost you somewhere around $1,000 per appointment, it's a little bit less predictable because there's a little bit more randomness to it. Okay. Again, I could do an entire presentation on just mailers. If you've heard some of the stuff I talked about and you're like, geez, I really want to learn more about mailers, please jump on my live call and ask me those questions at www.partnerwithagенtinvestor.com. All right, so the next one is pay-per-click. So pay-per-click in general, you typically have to hire somebody to do. Now, there's somebody out there that's a tech whiz that will say they could run the ads on their own, and maybe you do run ads on your own and you know how to do it. In general, even though I'm pretty tech savvy, it's kind of even outside of my wheelhouse. There's a lot to consider when advertising on Google and, what keywords you're going to choose. Like ideally, if somebody types in something like sell my house fast, you'd come up, right? So you're paying for that. That's what you're paying Google for. And you're paying them every time that somebody clicks on your ad. So in general, when you are running cash offer Google ads, you're hiring a company. There are not a million of them that run pay-per-click ads for investors. There are, a handful of them that do it across the country that are really good. They're really well known. They do it for most cash offer investors. And you're going to have to pay them a monthly fee. Typically somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, and sometimes they even charge you even more based on your budget. But again, what you're going to get is you're going to get somebody who has actually turned on their computer and they've said, I want to sell my house fast, and they're clicking on your ad and giving you their contact information for you to call, for you to set an appointment. So the great thing about pay-per-click leads, where somebody's gone on Google or they've gone on Bing, etc., is that they took the action versus if you sent them a mailer or you put up a billboard or whatever, like they've taken the action to actually fill out that form. That means in general, they're going to be pretty darn motivated. So it kind of begs the question, well, if you can get that for $1,000 an appointment, why wouldn't you just do Google pay-per-click? Because they're going to be a little bit more motivated. The problem is that you can't always control who fills out your form. So, just as a common example, you could get somebody who fills out the form whose house is already listed, or they fill out the form and their property is locating in an area you don't want, or it's a type of property that you don't want. Whereas again, with mailers, if you're mailing a specific property, you know that you want to list or buy that house. So it's very specific. That's the advantage of mailers. Okay. So we just talked a little bit about pay-per-click. Again, same premise. If you heard what I said and you're like, I have a million more questions, go on my call, www.partnerwithagенtinvestor.com. Happy to answer a lot more questions on pay-per-click. The last one I'm going to cover today is Facebook. Now, Facebook tends to be the lowest cost per lead, not appointment, but per lead. Per form that somebody fills out, they're going to be a lot cheaper typically than Google, and definitely a lot more cheaper than mailers. Now, Facebook ads used to be really easy to run. I used to run my own Facebook ads. There were a lot of filters you could put on. It was simple. Unfortunately, it's got a lot more complicated and less user-friendly as time has gone on. And just like with Google, for most people, if you're thinking about running Facebook ads, for most people, you're going to want to hire an agency to do it. Again, what that costs you is going to be depending on that agency. It could be $1,000, $2,000, $2,500 per month, right? And then you're going to pay Facebook to actually show the ads. So the difference between Facebook and Google, or social media and search engine, is that usually people don't go on social media to sell their home, right? People will go on Google to sell their home. They'll type in "sell my house fast" or "list my house" or "a real estate agent" or whatever in a search engine, but they're not going to do that with social media. So what happens with social media is you usually get kind of more leads, but they tend to be less qualified overall because somebody went on the platform, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media platform you're talking about. They went on that platform to just kind of fool around, to see what their friends were up to. And then they see this ad that kind of piques their interest and they click on it. So the intent is a little bit lower. You usually get a lower cost per lead. You get a similar cost per appointment. The leads themselves overall tend to be a little bit less motivated. All right. So I've covered really quickly paid marketing. Again, you want more information, you have questions, go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com and jump on my call. For a large majority of you, you will have heard this and you will say, I don't want to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month on paid marketing. And I get it. It's a lot of money. The benefit of paid marketing is that it's scalable and that it doesn't take you any time, right? So if you're running Facebook ads and you're having success, you could ratchet those up a lot. You could go from spending $3,000 a month to $30,000 a month in a year. I know that's a big jump, but if you're having success, the ideal thing with paid marketing is that you're getting a multiplier of what you're spending. So for every dollar that you're spending, you're getting $2 or $3 or $4, and that allows you to continue to reinvest back into that. I will say, interestingly enough, again, my brand is Agent Investor. What I teach and preach, I do for a reason. Most agents don't spend money on marketing in addition to the fact that it's expensive, but because they're not getting a return. When you are able to partner with us, you will be able to get a much better and bigger return that will allow you to market more. Okay. So let's just say, for example, I'm in Wakefield, Massachusetts is where my office is located. Let's say that you are an agent who want to do a lot of business in Wakefield, Mass. And you tried doing mailers in the past and you lost money. Is that a reality, like for most agents, when they actually market with an agent call to action? Like if you mail and you say, hey, I'm the number one agent in town, call me to list your house. Most of the time, most agents lose money, which is why they don't do it. You'll get a postcard from an agent and then they lose money and they don't make money and then they never send it to you again. It's why you don't usually consistently get or see agents marketing for sellers, because they're losing money doing it for those that even try. If you use a cash offer call to action, and instead of saying, hey, let me come list your home, if you say, hey, I've got a cash buyer that wants to make an offer on your home, you are not only going to get the listings from it, but you're going to be able to do the flip deals. Now, again, the flip deals, the average flip profit that we have when we partner with an agent is $80,000. All that you need to do as an agent, if you're spending paid marketing to get listings, and as a byproduct, you're going to get some cash offer deals, is anytime that a seller has a house that needs work, anytime that a seller would consider a cash offer, just wants to hear what an easier sale would be like, you bring us in, we make the offer. If they buy it, we'll put up all the money, we'll do all the construction, we'll split the profits with you 50-50, and the average check that we're cutting to agents is 40 grand. Because if we're making 80, we're cutting 40. We've had deals where we've made over $200,000. So even if you just said, you know what, I'm a real estate agent, I don't even like investing, and I just want to get more listings, marketing like this is going to allow you to get a better ROI on your seller marketing, which is then going to allow you to market more, right? So with all that being said, I'm always happy to answer more questions on generating seller leads, seller opportunities, partner deals, etc. I am going to do another topic next week. I have this series going where every week for the next few weeks, we've already probably done 3 or 4 weeks. I'll probably do 3 or 4 more weeks of this, where every week I'm going to talk about another way to generate seller appointments for both listings and flip opportunities. There is nothing more important than generating a seller appointment as an agent. Yet most agents don't spend time every day doing it. I always say this when I have any in-person presentations. I'll say, hey, is there anything more important for all of you in this room right now than to generate a seller appointment? And everyone agrees. And when I do in-person presentations, agents never agree on anything. There's always 10 different opinions on everything, but almost everybody agrees. The number one thing that they could do in their business this week is to get 1 or 2 or 3 seller appointments. I then follow that up with a question. How many of you every day this week spent time trying to get a seller appointment? And only a few hands go up. Only a few hands go up in a crowd of 50 people, in a crowd of 100 people, in a crowd of 30 people, depending on how many people I have at my event. And I say, why? You know, if the number one thing that you can do to grow your business is to generate seller appointments, why aren't you doing it? And I think in a lot of cases, most agents think incorrectly that you need to cold call or do something that you hate doing. So this series on seller appointment generation, on deal generation, is all about figuring out what lead generation strategy, seller lead generation strategy works for you. Which one can you do most days of the week and feel comfortable with and be okay with and thrive with, so that you get 1 or 2 or 3 seller appointments a week? All right, guys, thank you for taking the time. Make sure you jump on my next call to learn more about our partnership program, about our seller appointment program. We're now giving away seller appointments to agents every single week. Our team generates 100 to 130 seller appointments a week. 75, 80 of those are more retail, like listing opportunities and not cash offer type appointments. We're giving those to agents. If you want to learn more about how you can go on 1 seller appointment per week from my appointments that I book, again, jump on my call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you got some value today, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.